All right, boys. I'm gonna do some icebreaker questions for us while we wait.
I like that. Go ahead. Are you literally Googling icebreaker questions?
No, I'm saying would you rather questions.
Oh, ooh, okay.
Ooh, would you rather have a permanent clown nose or clown shoes?
Shoes. Gives the
Well,
illusion
if
that I have a massive hog.
so, are the shoes not
I mean,
permanent?
you already do though, so that's just
Are the shoes not permanent?
They are both permanent. Which one would you?
Oh,
rather?
nose.
Shoes.
Why nose, Miller?
I don't want to walk around in clown shoes.
I could kick people easily, trip them from far away.
You can't do anything athletic wise.
Why? I'm past 35. What?
No, you could probably be.
You can't even go on a fucking run.
Wait. Could you be a
I
good
choose not
NFL
to.
kicker with the big shoes?
No,
No.
because the strength is in your ankle, isn't it?
Could be.
All right. Really good observation
That's a good
there.
one. I like that one.
Now, similarly, would you rather have smelly feet or bad breath?
Smelly.
What if you have both? It's definitely smelly feet.
All right, that was
Because
easy.
it doesn't affect the conversation. You can cover that shit up with socks.
I will agree with that statement.
Would you rather run into an alien or Bigfoot?
Alien.
Get some probe going.
It opens up a wide world of everything.
Yes, it does in some ways.
That's
But
a tough one for
Bigfoot.
me.
Bigfoot is just nothing. Doesn't mean there's.
Put some respect on Bigfoot. Come on.
Doesn't mean that there's terrestrial life out there. It doesn't mean anything. It just means there's someone that had bad genes. Are we going?
Ooh, last one.
I'm adjusting the YouTube stream real quick.
This is a good one, guys. Would you rather have a 1-minute conversation with your past self or your future self?
Past. I would tell him to actually pay attention in school.
Wait. Can you have a conversation and change your life? Or just have a conversation?
Conversation.
I mean, if you know anything about time travel, if you go back, there's gonna be a new thing, right? There's gonna be a new path.
Well, then it's definitely past. But then I would just go back with lottery numbers for a day and I'll be fucking set.
That's such a...
Yeah, you would do it too. You didn't think about it, did you?
Okay, why would you want to talk to your future self? Like, what would you...
Ben says we would open wide. That's kind of rude.
We would open what?
Open wide. Booping is too soft. Wow, he's coming in strong.
What the fuck is he talking about? Does he have the agenda?
No. All right, are we ready to go?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me see if I can have one.
Make sure you guys...
I would want to know what happens in the future.
See, we say we're ready to go, and then you just have a comment like that.
I have the deep question. People are thinking, Miller, Chris. Let's go.
All right. Mute yourselves. You guys know the deal.
Hello! Welcome, boys and girls. The trio is here. The positivity, not so much here. Welcome to the show. Welcome to week 8. The episode's title is "Don't Count Your Chicken Before it hatches." And unless you've been living under the rock, you know what this episode's about. I'm your host, Boopen, joined by my fellow Positive Brigade members checking in, Miller and Chris. Boys, what's up?
Why does Miller get the long intro and I just get the Chris?
We all know why.
because I was right. Also, chat, because of the recent conversations I've had with multiple people, I'm going to ask both Boopin and Miller to show their cups to the stream right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to ask them right at the end, where are they at?
Oh,
So
No, you should not be asking that. It's assumed that the drink is
it's
finished.
assumed, but then again,
a gentleman never reveals.
Oh, trust me, Chris. My drink's always finished.
we know.
We know.
All right. In today's episode, we will do a high-level overview of the Week 8, recap the Bears' loss to Washington. We'll also share some findings and trends to help your fantasy team to hopefully turn it around. You know, we need some positivity around here. Bears didn't give us any this week.
At this point, there's no turning shit around. You either suck or you're fucking decent.
I mean, you're the sucker if you can fucking do shit. That sounds you a lot. There's a lot of like breath in there. Okay, brother, take it easy. Like, what team was it? Some team is 2 and something, and they were talking about, oh, we still have a shot at playoffs. And so, like, you know,
Wasn't
you
it
don't.
Cincinnati?
I think that was Cincinnati. Yeah. So, like, you don't know. You know, we could turn it around. Maybe listen to this show, you turn it around. I need some help myself. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's start here. Week 8. I was trying to gather some big trends, something we could talk about. I was just happy to look at the division leaders, boys. There are some new names, new kids on the block. Steelers are leading the AFC North over the Ravens. You know, Bengals was supposed to be like maybe a pick for Super Bowl for some. Washington is leading NFC East over the Phillies and the Eagles. Sorry, Phillies and Eagles, and what's already working, Cowboys. And Arizona is leading NFC West over, I don't even know, 49ers. Seattle Rams are always like deadly right there. So like some interesting division leaders there. Um, does any stand out to you? I guess which one stands out the most to you? All of them are pretty surprising to me.
Yeah, I would probably say Washington is the most surprising. I mean, Arizona's sitting at 500. I'm not going to give them much solace at this point. But Washington being 6-2 is such a huge thing. As we know, the NFC East, the person that wins it the year before never repeats. And I think the Cowboys won it last year. So looks like we have another one. I think if I'm picking the Washington Commanders, it's because I think they actually have a chance at winning it. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to get past Baltimore.
Okay, I think they have a 1-game lead at this point. But Washington is this. I wanted to ask you this too. Um, do you guys pay any attention to, Washington's offensive coordinator? What's his name? From Arizona.
Clint Kingsbury?
Yeah, his teams always have a second half collapse. It seems they're like super hot in September, October, then it kind of collapses.
I mean, they didn't have a great game against us.
That was the other thing I was going to like. I don't think they've gotten lucky so far, but the game with the Bears, I would say they got lucky. So that was my question. Like, do you see maybe like Kingsbury? Does the magic wear out? Does the league catch up? Do you think to Washington?
I don't necessarily think that's true because I think Jaden's really good. I just think that the Eagles, they had their turmoil at the beginning of the year. Then you have the Cowboys that are shitting the bed. The Giants are shit. So it's like it's really a 2-team race there, and it could go either way.
It's taking advantage of the division too. Like if you think the powerhouses were having bad games and then you win the games you're supposed to win, you're always going to be in a good spot. Just Arizona, shout out to them for making sure that Kyler Murray's not playing Call of Duty with the Brazilian
Yeah, props to him.
Props to
Wait,
them.
do we know he's not playing?
Well, they won.
Listen, he has better control of his hands, which means he's not on a controller. I'm assuming he's a controller guy. He's not a mouse and keyboard guy. So he has better grip on the ball. It's been proven. Also, Call of Duty got like a 9 out of 10. So he probably wants to play it and he's like itching to play. So I think the bye week is going to be something that is whether he had it or not. I think that's when we're going to be in trouble. Also, the new map for Warzone is going to release soon. So I think that's when he's going to have to start figuring out like Does my career of making
Nerd
money
alert.
matter,
Nerd alert.
or-
Jesus Christ. The one fucking follower we had left the show. So thank you, Chris, for that.
No, they come in because of my knowledge of video games, because I am the best video gamer of the group.
Eh.
Okay, I got no fucking
Moving
chicken in
on.
that. No, sir. No, sir. Chris, you had something to say, sir.
Oh, we're going straight to it?
No, you have.
No,
what's your
there's-
reaction to week 8?
Week 8.
Reaction to week 8. I think the injury bug is starting to hit a little bit. We all heard the news of Diggs, a non-contact injury, getting him out for the year, which sucks. So I think we're kind of seeing the season play out and seeing what teams can take advantage. So I think big names getting hurt. Some trades occurring as we speak. I'm not too familiar with the names. I think it'll have more of a fantasy value than anything else. So I'm sure we'll talk about that on the fantasy aspect. But injuries, I think, played a big portion in week 8.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a segment next section. I think trade deadline is next Tuesday.
Yep. Nothing else happening next Tuesday. Not that I can think of.
Yep. No, nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
No consequence to our life.
Nope.
Miller, some sophisticated reaction from you, sir.
A reaction to week 8. You know what? Who the fuck gives a shit? Who the fuck gives a shit? You know why? Because I was sick to my stomach after this Bears fiasco. And I didn't care. No one fucking cares. Week 8 doesn't exist in my life. That was one of the worst losses I've ever fucking experienced in my fucking Bears career.
That seems a little okay.
Yeah, that's much.
What's worse? The double doink. It said one of the worst. That was the only thing worse. I mean, Super Bowl, I guess, but that was just a loss. It wasn't like heartbreak.
I think Kyle Long was like double doink happened, but this was avoidable or something. Like he thought.
I mean, everything is avoidable. I'm sure we'll get more into it.
Yeah, go. Shoot your shit.
Listen, I want to thank everyone for this opportunity. I've asked if I can have the floor uninterrupted. They're supposed to mute their mics. They haven't yet, but I trust that they'll mute because they're not going to interrupt me during this time. This message is to all of my fellow Bear fans out there. Those idiotic Bear fans that thought that the Bears had a fucking chance this year and are bitching and moaning that they want to get rid of the Flus. Okay? You guys are fucking idiots. Okay? As much as you want to pin this loss on Flus not being prepared or the 15 yards that should have been protected before the Hail Mary, this team was dog shit for 3 quarters. We deserve to lose that game. We absolutely deserve to lose that game. Granted, Caleb finally decided that, hey, maybe I should have more completions than punts on this game. So I'm going to try harder in the 4th quarter and gave us a chance to win. But this was not a team win. One thing that we always settled on was our backbone of a defense, that our defense wins us games. This defense lost us the game. This defense did not perform in clutch scenarios when we needed them to. And also, the Bears haven't won on the road. If you motherfuckers thought that the Bears were going to go to the Super Bowl on Caleb's first year, you guys are fucking delusional. You guys are so fucking delusional that you guys don't deserve to be Bear fans. Okay? We all predicted an 8-9 season or a 7-10, whatever it was going to be. But then you fucking idiots decided like, oh my God, Caleb Williams, his dick is massive. He's going to take us to the fucking Super Bowl. No. Okay? No. Enjoy the ride. That's all we said about this season. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy what's happening. We deserve to lose that game. You guys are fucking idiots. We can continue now.
I don't know where to start.
So much fake news. I felt like I was watching fucking Fox News right there. All the fucking fake shit up there.
I don't know. What I would say, I think, is it was not like I'm conflicted about the game. Yes, we probably deserve to lose a game.
Boopin, can you give us a summary of what happened?
Yes.
First.
Let's start there. Thank you. I didn't know where to start. Thank you, Miller. Thank you for organizing my thoughts or something, like an agenda or something. Okay. If you have been living under a rock, Jade and Daniels scrambled for 13 seconds through a Hail Maryland play, that's what they're calling it, to Noah Brown to beat the Bears 19-15.
Well, no, not directly to him. He threw it to a pile of fucking people while one of our Bears players,
But he caught
it. He wanted to have a conversation with people on the sideline and not be fucking prepared.
But it's not his fault. It's Caleb's fault. Remember? That's what you just said.
It's Caleb's fault.
It's Caleb's fault.
People, hang on.
Because of his massive dick.
If football karma is a thing, Tyreek Stevenson, who was talking shit to McLaurin all game, decided to talk shit to the public.
No, that's not accurate.
Sir,
he was communicating with Bears fans.
Let me talk. Yeah, I think it was maybe they goodbye. I don't think it was
what he said. Yeah, and that's
anyway.
Then the Bears fans were pointing at him that the play started.
Yeah. There was a photo of the fans telling them to watch. Like, have you seen the soccer play where they have like arrows pointing at the goal? That's what it reminded. That's what it reminded me of. But anyway, so how fucking football karma that he's the one that like fucking tipped the ball up in the air and then he got touched. It's just like fucking karma. Like, I'm not saying him, if he had paid attention, whatever, would bat the ball down. I'm not saying that. But, like, how amazing and how karmic that he's the fucking guy that touched the ball. But before we get there, my issue was, like, Bears defense that has been doing a really good job. They were holding the high-flying Washington offense. Maybe, like, not 100% Jane Daniels was there. But they didn't score any touchdowns before that.
They didn't give up a fucking touchdown to one of the hottest offenses in the league. And you're going to sit here and say it's the defense's fault that they collapsed in moments? You used moments. You said plural. You didn't use moment.
Sir.
Which I would have accepted.
Sir, my concern is the play before that. And I think I understand why they did it too, but still I want to criticize the team. Had we like even fought to defend that 15 yards or 10 yards or whatever they got out of that play before that Hail Mary would have been like 10 yards further. Maybe it would not have been a touchdown. Maybe it would not. Who the fuck knows, right? But we played soft somehow. Like after playing this nice defense, being on our P's and Q's. Let's fucking.
You didn't follow the fucking agenda. We were addressing Chris's rant, and now you're fucking all over the place.
I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place.
I'll take a little bit of this. I understand what the 15 yards was, but that's not even the biggest concern that I have. The biggest concern that I had of that whole game is that none of the coaching staff realized that one of their players was not paying attention. They could have easily called a timeout. They could have easily been like, hey, let's get together. What the fuck are you doing over there? This is the play.
I mean, keep in mind, he was probably 60, 70 yards away.
Yeah. Okay, that's irrelevant. There's still times where
it's
the last
far.
Play, hold on, but there are still times.
So to this,
hold on. Let me just make this point. There are still times, even when kickers are about to take their kick right before the end of a game, they use the timeout to make sure.
Oh, I'm not arguing the timeout point. I'm arguing the fact that I don't think coaches would have noticed him doing this. That's what I'm arguing. But I'm going to keep us on track, okay? So I addressed Chris's stupid ass rant about how the defense failed when they didn't allow one of the hottest offenses in the league to score a touchdown other than the last mental lapse that they had. And then going to Caleb, yes, he pretty much sucked for 3 quarters. 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. But at the end of the day, he was resilient and the offense was resilient enough to put us in the position to win the game. They did something this game that they've done multiple times this season, and that is score points within 2 minutes left of the game. Within halftime and at the end of the game, this kid knows how to score points, and that is something to be said. And he did it this game 3 times. He led 3 touchdown drives. Swift, I get it as a 50-yard run. I get it. But he still led the team. They still scored on that one. The next one, they drove up to the 1-yard line, and then coaching decisions that we'll get to in a second affected that drive. And then the last one, he gave us this game. He did stuff that we haven't seen with Trubisky, Fields, really even Cutler. Oh, go look at Fields' stats in the fourth quarter, bud. They're a joke. And this guy.
So why would those fourth quarter stats matter for you, but the first and third throughout doesn't matter?
I didn't say it didn't matter. I just addressed the fact that he sucked. But the bottom line is when you show up in crunch time, that's what you want to see from a quarterback. You can have you're focusing on one part when you should be focusing on the totality of the game.
Totality of the game.
And the bottom line is
of the first, second, and third quarter where the Bears couldn't do anything. Like that's also a concern.
But
I mean, it's a concern, yes. But at the end of the day, they should have won the game. He
Chris,
put us in a position to win the game.
I'm with Miller here. No, I'm with Miller here. Like, probably since Cutler days, we've had a dominant defense that would bend not break, give some points, but the offense would never show up, right? We would just lose the game like fucking 30-6.
I have a question for you both then, if you don't mind me asking. Are we saying that this defense that we have is considered elite right now?
Yes.
I don't know. Like,
See,
I don't
Are you
think
kidding me?
we're not as great as we were last year. That's as simple as that.
Yeah, us as fans need to kind of.
What is your metric that you're looking at that says we're not as great as last year? Because if you look at the totality of last year, I bet you we were. But you can say that after we got swept, then we might not have been. But at the beginning of the year, we weren't that good.
Right?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're rated in top 5 right now. But focusing on Caleb right now, because we addressed that, one thing that I have one positive and one negative. If you watch some of the plays and you really dive into him playing the game, one thing that impressed me was his movement within the pocket, which is really great to see. He's not a guy that's going to take off immediately and start running, but he was dodging because the O-line was pathetic. Our 3rd round pick, don't even know his name, not even gonna, that started at left tackle, or didn't start, but came in at left tackle after Braxton got hurt, was basically a revolving door. He was getting beat every single play. So Caleb had these guys in his face for a majority of the game, first through third quarters. But the movement that he had to make some of the throws that he did was really good. Big concern that we've talked about multiple times is his ability to hit the deep throw on the sideline. There was a glimmer of hope. He hit DJ Moore on the left side I don't remember if that was the final touchdown drive or the second touchdown drive where we fumbled.
I think
but
that was the one where we didn't score, I think. Yeah.
That was a nice one.
But there are some throws that even were a bit concerning. I don't know if some of the throws he had, especially one in the end zone towards the end of the game, where it was a fade going to like the back left pylon. Mm-hmm. He fucking chucked it almost to the stands. I don't know if he was just trying to get rid of the ball, but
I think it was. I mean, Keenan wasn't that open.
That's what I was going to say. Like, also, another thing that people are not talking about is how big that pass interference Keenan Allen got us was huge. Without that play, nothing of that score happens. And that is a veteran move that needs to be preached. I don't care what happened in the result, but if it wasn't for that pass interference, we would not be in that position.
No, I'm really glad we have Keenan Allen. I think it's good for Rome. It's good for Caleb. I think I know he's getting paid a ton of money, but I think he's a positive overall for the team, for sure. I think I would 100% give you that. I wanted to make a quick point about Caleb. I know Miller does not want me to say that, but he did acknowledge that he could have done better. He took ownership. He said, some of the plays that I routinely make, I didn't make this week. He acknowledged that.
That's leadership talk. I get what he's trying to do. I don't have him at that point where it's like I have him at, you're a rookie. You're bound to keep making, he basically gets a pass on mistakes this whole season. I think a lot of times
to hold the phone, clip that shit, put it out there, clip it. Oh baby, baby.
Hold on,
just for the record, we've already clipped 2 things. One Miller said.
So hold on, let me just preface this. There's a difference between being all over his hog, but then also acknowledging that whatever mistakes
massive
hog, whatever mistakes he's making, as long as they're not repeated so many times. We've seen that already with Anthony Richardson. You're seeing some things where if it's a consistent issue, you will get benched. I haven't seen consistent issues. Every time I do see something wrong with Caleb, you tend to not see it the next game. So that's always been a plus for him.
I think what one key point we have to say is the reason offensive line sucked is our another savior, Bill Murray. He's on IR now. That's why we sucked.
Okay. All right. Moving to some stock risings. Obviously, there's not too much to talk about here, but the MVP of the Bears, as I pointed out last week, DeAndre Swift, again showed up and showed out for this team. I think he had over 120 yards and a TD, just
think we need
looking
to send him-
fantastic running the ball.
Yeah, we need to send him a fruit arrangement or something for how
Could
cruel
he
we
now
were
be
to him.
considered the best signing of the season for the Bears?
think
I mean, we didn't sign too
Oh.
many people this offseason. It's definitely
That's
so
an
the, for
easier
the
reward.
for the Bears, I think so. I mean,
Above average.
the other signings were what, offensive linemen that haven't done shit. So I think he's definitely outperformed my expectations, and the running game as a whole did really well this game, which is why some of the things that we'll talk about in a few minutes really hurt even more. But like, I think we almost ran for 200 yards against this team, and it was a weak defense, which is why we kind of expected Caleb to perform a little better. But he obviously missed some throws, and offensive line had some shitty penalties, putting us at 1st and 15, and the offensive line in general sucked. But that's Swift, obviously. The next one that I had is that we already touched on. Defense didn't allow a touchdown against this team other than the last play. Not going to get into it. But one thing that I'm going to discuss, we're going to discuss a lot of things coming up, but player leadership. I don't know if this is a concerning thing or a good thing, but over these last few days, obviously we talked about the Hail Mary. A lot of the players who have spots on radio shows and whatnot are coming out and questioning coaching. So some examples is Jalen Johnson came out, talked about the lack of awareness on the last play on what to do. Should they have called a timeout? Komet came out talking about the fact that we need to give our best all the time, and that includes practice. And then TJ Edwards was talking about the benefits of a timeout at the end that Chris mentioned earlier. And then DJ Moore talked about the fact that he didn't expect that goal line play to take place where they handed it off to the backup center. So what is your take on the players basically openly questioning the coaching staff?
Boobin, you want to go first on this? Because I feel like I have 2 points on that, so I don't want to take up too much time.
No. Thank you. It's like I was thinking about this today when I was making the agenda because I read the same things, Miller. There is I wanted to write something about like positive. I didn't know it was a positive or negative. I think I threw it in the agenda too. Like players were riding high, right? Everything was working, like their good culture. Flus is fucking giving his post game speeches. But then something like this happens that like I think this is a pretty good moment for the team because like we talked about in the bye, we've not played anybody that was like had a good record. So we were like beating on teams, but like teams we were supposed to beat, right? We talked about. So I think we were riding high. So like I think this is a good humbling moment. I don't think it's concerning personally. I think like JJ and Komet probably are leaders on the team, if I may say so. Edwards too.
I think
they are.
everybody there are the leaders of the team.
Yeah. So like I think them saying something and like they're not saying whatever, it's nothing. They're saying, hey, this is a good moment to talk about. Like no one's like they probably wouldn't let them say anything else anyway, but whatever they're saying seems to be in positive light. And these are like people that probably other people look up to. So I don't necessarily see this as bad. I do like there is something to be said, and we'll probably bash on coaching a whole lot of next. So I don't want to say much about that, but so much is coming out that I think there will be moves made in the offseason, and we probably know some of the moves that will be made in the offseason because I don't know, some of this, at least Stevenson, what he did, he's a second, third year player. So like maybe it's just cockiness just getting to him, right? Whatever. That's what I think. Concerning, but like not like, it's to fire somebody concerning. Chris?
So one thing, whenever stuff like this gets brought up, we always have the comparison of, is it really the coach's fault because they feel like they weren't prepared? Or is it the player's fault for not being professional enough and knowing the situation they're in? And there's always been a balance of trying to figure out which one actually means more. The Bears win that game. These questions do not get brought up, right? I think that's fair to say. I think the only questions that will get brought up is the first half, the horrible first half that the offense couldn't do, right? I think we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
I think some of these questions would get not necessarily Hail Mary stuff, but like the fumble on the goal line that would get, but it wouldn't be in the scope that it is right now.
the whole country is talking about it. If we are being honest, that was like all the podcasts I listened to. That was the first clip they played.
But you know why they're talking about it, which is funny. They're talking about how not that Washington won it with that play, but how the Bears lost it with that play. Like there's a difference mentality of if the Bears were overpowering that team and then they lost because of the Hail Mary, they'll be like, it's a Hail Mary. We can forget about it. It was just one play, right? But because the Bears couldn't do much throughout the whole game until the fourth quarter, and then that happens, that's why you have this narrative. Now, to answer your question.
What?
Yeah. What do you mean what?
No, it has nothing to do with what happened in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. It has to do with the fact that the Bears played well. They got in a position to win the game.
They play well.
The defense played well. They got in a position to win the game, and then they blew it based on coaching decisions that occurred in the fourth quarter. They don't fucking give a shit what happened between quarters 1 through 3.
Miller, when Kramer scores a touchdown in other games, we didn't say shit, dude.
Kramer has never scored a touchdown, Boopin.
Like, hold on. Not on a run. I think he caught a touchdown.
No, he's never. Okay, that could be true.
Like, I think they did the whole mini refrigerator play. That was the same guy, no? Like, he scored.
No, that was his first touch.
But again, there's a difference between throwing a guy the ball and handing it off. But no, I haven't heard anybody talk about the first through third quarter. It's all focused on the fourth quarter.
That's my whole point. That's what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is the Bears were never in a position to win that game until those events happened in the fourth quarter. The Bears were not an offensive threat. They were doing nothing on offense. But what I'm trying to say is one thing, and this is where I was going to bring it up on the coaching staff. Do you think the Bears coaching staff is telling all of these players before the game, not because obviously we're quarterbacking after the game? You really think these guys are saying like, hey, we want you to be active with the fields. We want you to be talking with the fans out right before a play is starting and that you're not paying attention? No, that's not on the coaches. That is not on the coaches. If we're going to talk about the Hail Mary play. That is on a player not being professional enough to realize that the game is
That is on the coaches.
That is not on the coaches.
Discipline is on the coaches.
Discipline is not on the coaches.
Yes, it is.
How is it? Okay, please, how is it on the coaches?
If you really think, outside of crazy Antonio Brown, you really think a player would be caught dead doing something like that for Mike Tomlin? No, because they understand that he has an aura about him, and everybody has their spot, and everybody always is attentive and doing what they need to do. They don't have that discipline that they would just start jabbering and not paying attention to what's going on in the field. That doesn't happen with a coach like Tomlin. When you have a guy like Eberflus, who, well, we thought hits principle was the way it's supposed to be, but apparently it's a little more lax as we're learning slowly. Things are a little chaotic with him. That's when things like this happen. That's when things get out of control, like they did in the Mark Trestman era, which is scary enough to say. But that's when things happen. When you have an aura like a Bill Belichick or Mike Tomlin, you don't hear shit like this because it doesn't happen. So to completely say that coaches aren't the issue, that's not right.
Miller, you do realize that multiple players on Tomlin were either traded or they never got re-signed because it didn't fit the scheme or they were just tired of dealing with them. That's a different thing. I'm talking about a play. If a player is not professional enough to know that and the play is about to start, the only thing I saw on Twitter, which is your favorite spot, was that maybe he was anticipating a timeout. Like he was anticipating a timeout to be called.
Don't make excuses for him.
Thank you. You saying that it's on the coach is you making an excuse for the player. The player should.
I'm not saying it's solely on the coach, but to say it's not on the coach is wrong.
Solely on the player. The coach can't go over there and run to him and be like, "Hey, I need you to pay attention, buddy. Hey, can you please get this participation trophy and pay attention so that we can win this game?" Okay, thank you so much. And then
stupid argument.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not always on the coach when they're in the game. If what I will say is on the coach is you had a bye week and your offense didn't do shit for 3 quarters. That's on the coach.
Well, why don't you focus about discipline on the entire organization? Go watch our game. Did you watch it? Because you know what? How many penalties has the offensive line had over these last few games with false starts, not being in the correct position, timeouts?
Yep.
holdings. There are so many across the board that we've had issues with this year. It seems like every fucking drive is 1st and 15. And you know what? You can sit there and say it's not the coach's fault that they didn't commit the penalty.
That is the
but you know what? That is the same fucking thing.
No, that is
It's the same thing.
But see, on that aspect,
Teaching discipline. That's what it's about as a coach.
But the
teaching fucking discipline on the field.
The offensive coordinator is also the one that needs to pay attention to himself and realize that this is happening. And we've been mentioning this since preseason almost, because I think preseason we were worried about penalties too. So this is a norm. This is our norm. And what's funny enough, and then we'll get to the next topic, people thought that we were a Super Bowl team while still having these issues.
Okay, you're throwing that term around a lot.
Who the fuck told you Super Bowl? None of us did. Miller and I did not say
What were your positivity ratings again?
7.
7.5.
And I even said, so what is a Super Bowl for you guys?
A Super Bowl is 10. As we talked
about this.
Go pull up that shit. In order for me to consider a team a Super Bowl contender, they would be a 9 or a 10. 7 is not in the realm of.
Did we all not say not a playoff team?
Nah, I would disagree. I would probably, as of before the bye week, I would have probably said that we could make the playoffs.
I think I said no playoffs. I said.
I think at the beginning of the season I said no playoff, but
I think we all said no playoffs, but we didn't realize the NFC would be this strong.
Yeah, okay. But yeah. So we kind of touched on some things as far as stock falling, play calling, and coaching. Handing the ball off to a backup center at 1st and goal. Or I think it was 1st and goal, 2nd and goal, whatever goal it was, is a joke. And the fact that play got called is a joke. You can sit here and say, well, they threw it to him before. Throwing a ball to him is a hell of a lot different than having him as a fullback and having Caleb turn around and hand off the ball. I'm sorry. You don't call that play.
I disagree, Miller. I know.
Why?
Bad.
Why? Why do you need trickery? Why do you need trickery? You have 200 yards on the ground. You have 200 yards.
You're not expecting that. Like, it works, and if it worked, we would be like fucking.
He's never taken a handoff in his life, and you're gonna fucking throw this in?
So timeout. Correction.
They probably practiced this play. I didn't fucking invent this on the stand.
Oh, come on.
Handoff in practice, and we all know practice is important. So let's not forget about that. Come on now.
Like, it looks bad. It didn't work. I get it. And I fucking you want someone's head on the chopping block.
Said that it was Caleb's fault because he handed it off too fast. That's Tony Romo knows what he's talking about.
Okay, for the record,
Jim.
I wanted you to source it, and I've yet to see anything. So until you send me something,
I'm not paying NFL.
Nobody.
Game to watch.
I have paid attention to multiple sources. Nobody's ever mentioned Caleb Williams having an issue in that game.
For the full game to get released.
And if you actually watch that play, it was a perfect handoff, right in the gut.
It's too fast, though. He wasn't.
Okay.
He's a big guy.
You know why? You know why, Chris? Because he's never taken a fucking handoff in a game in his life. Because he's a backup center.
Miller, if the play worked, would you have liked it still? And we got a touchdown.
Yes, you'd be on that hog.
You'd be like, I wouldn't have done it, but I'm glad we scored. That's what you would have done.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't understand how you guys are so accepting the fact that we're down 7 and you want to run a trick play when we are literally.
Not really a trick play, though.
How is that not a trick play? You're giving the ball to a guy that's never touched the ball in that situation before.
Fullback gets a ball. Like
he's not a fullback, Boopin. He's a backup center.
He was a fullback on that play.
He's a backup center.
You make it sound like they picked a guy from the crowd to run fullback and gave him the ball. They did not fucking do that. They practiced that play. That's why he plays fullback sometimes.
So he plays fullback to block because his main job as a backup center is to block. It's not to touch the ball, especially not in a handoff situation. And when you give it to him in that situation and he fumbles, yeah, that's on the coaching staff for not preparing the player.
Yes, the fumble looks bad. Yes, you are mad, but I don't think it's not end of the world. I like play. Fucking look at Detroit. They play 15 of this play every week and score.
I guarantee you they've never handed the ball off to a backup center.
Don't.
Am I right?
Listen, our podcast listeners are going to.
Am I right? Yeah. No, they have Monty throwing the ball, but they don't hand the ball off to a backup center.
Oh my God! Monty throws the ball. A halfback. How does he throw the ball? How does he have hands?
So these guys are still talking, and I'm trying to figure out the agenda. So next, we're going to talk about media spot. All right. So one thing before I will.
No, let's jump to Boopin's hate for the second to last play.
hold on. That handoff, I think if it didn't work and we don't lose the ball,
It didn't
play will
work.
never get called again. So I understand Miller's point. I think the fumble is worse. I think if he got the ball, didn't score, then we would have the same discussion of why are we handing that ball off. But
Well, the thing is like,
so
why? It goes back to the Indy game, right? When they didn't pound the ball in the end zone and they ran a quarterback option with Caleb.
Yep.
What have they done? The last few games, when they're down there, they hand the ball to Roshan. Has that worked?
What was different though?
Yes.
Has that worked? It's worked. Why the fuck are we changing it?
No, but you know what, Miller? We didn't use Swift as much as we've been using him now. So
Miller.
that dynamic.
No, that's not true. On the goal line, it's Roshan Johnson for the majority.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Okay,
What?
Miller. Chris knows there'll be Roshan Johnson at the goal line. You know there'll be Roshan Johnson.
Why the fuck does that matter? You want to go tell Philly that, they'll know Jalen Hurts is going to run the ball? That's not a fucking thing.
Miller, when they did the Philly fucking Philly special, were you like crying in your fucking hands? Because
again, these are passes. These are passes, Boopin. They're not handoffs to a guy.
It's safer to run the ball with the fucking guy that then fucking passes probably.
What are you talking about?
The whole point.
Okay,
I'm done. I can't deal with you.
Rushing, you are giving the ball to a guy. Throwing, you're throwing
Yes.
the guy.
But Boopin, you just said that you're giving it to Roshan, who is handled more than the guy that the ball was handed.
It doesn't make sense to hand it to a guy that's never handed.
No one here is gonna convince the other guy, and we all.
Yeah, that's fine. Just move. You guys are idiots. It's cool. Go to the second to last play that you want to talk about.
Okay, second to last play. I think it's first down, second down, whatever down it is. It said 10-ish.
I think it was first. I think it was second.
Yeah.
I think they spiked it.
Yeah, so like whatever, 15-ish seconds to go.
No, 6 seconds to go.
No, 6 seconds was the last play.
6 seconds.
No, 6 was the second to last play. 2 seconds was the last play.
Okay.
Oh, you might be right. You might be right.
6 seconds to go. Like, like they had probably around their 35, 40-yard line, give or take a little bit, right? Like, so what are you gonna do? The two options. I get why they were defending a little bit deeper because they don't want to give a field goal, right? That would tie the game, send the game into extra. So they're playing deeper than they normally would. I say, if you want to go for it with a fucking center and a halfback, give him the ball, why not play closer, defend closer to see if you can kind of attack and not give them the close out? Because everyone and their mothers fucking know they're going to go to the sideline to try and get a quick out. That's what they know. I think more than the Hail Mary play, I'm mad at that play that set up the Hail Mary. That was my point.
I'm okay with it. But the only reason I'm okay with it is because I genuinely think they didn't think they were gonna run that play.
What do you expect them to run?
Everybody and their goddamn mothers know that's how they run.
I didn't.
Can we go back, Chris? Tony Romo said that they should be up on the defenders.
He did say that, and even I was like, okay, that's a valid point. And I think they had just used their last timeout too. So I think there's a lot.
Yeah, they had no timeouts.
No timeouts at that time. So yeah, so if you block them or if you stop them inside the numbers, game's over.
If you stop them inside the numbers, game's over because they don't have timeouts. 6 seconds left. If you stop them, they don't have enough. He doesn't have the arm talent to throw it that far.
They probably thought that since he's hurt, he won't be able to get that far, so they were probably waiting to do like an under.
All I hear is you fuckers making excuses for the coaches, and it's so fucking annoying.
I
They probably thought they were just going to dump them down. No, I'm talking about the last play. You're making coaches, not you're defending the coaches, not this play. But it's just the fact that you let a team get free yards in this situation is horrible. It is. Why are you running at the end of a half? Why are you running one guy up front, sidelines covered, but then in arguably one of the biggest plays in the game, you're not even playing defense? I literally don't think I think there was 4 people rushing the ball, but the defensive backs were not even in the play.
3 rushers and a spy, I believe.
Yeah,
no, that was the last play. That was the Hail Mary, unless they ran the same thing. But
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, okay? Like, I think Bears did not think he's gonna fucking go for the like all the way, right? They did not believe that he was gonna fucking Hail Mary. That did some part of their brain, either the defenders, the coaches, somebody underestimated them.
That they
That's
were
what
not gonna go
happened.
seven.
I think they were taking the lackadaisical
They did.
aspect of things
I agree
and
with
saying,
Yeah.
we're preparing for the Hail Mary because it needs to get there. And we will give up these 15 yards.
Right.
Not comprehending like a normal individual would that the fact that throwing the ball 75 yards is a hell of a lot harder than throwing the ball 50 yards. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you listen to the coaches, it's so interesting. You listen to two different coaches. You listen to the Commanders coach, and then you listen to Eberflus, and it's just like night and day. Eberflus comes out, asks multiple times, what were you doing on this play? And he said, oh, those 15 yards, they weren't important. We were just preparing for the Hail Mary. And then you listen to Dan Quinn, the Commanders coach, come out and say, that was the most important play that we ran because getting those 15 yards allowed us to reach the end zone. And it's just like, it makes you look so stupid as a coach when you're giving this bullshit answers. That's just, it's so frustrating. And the lack of defense even played. Go pull up last fucking week in your division. You had the fucking Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions facing off. And that came down to a Hail Mary. You know what fucking Kneecaps did? He sent the fucking farm and they sacked Darnold. They sacked him on the Hail Mary. They didn't even allow him to throw the ball. And we didn't do that for either of the two plays where we could have.
I like, again, fucking hindsight is 2020, right? But like I 100% agree with you, Miller. Why, when it comes to Hail Mary, we have to play defense? Like, why do we rush 3 and then send everybody else to defend, while the chances of someone making or touching the ball is probably just as high? Fucking send 6 or send 7, and if he still gets it off, fuck, we're gonna lose the game anyway. 50-50 shot, right? I am with you 100%. Like Hail Mary, we should come up with a new way to defend it. If he didn't have, he needed all of that 13 seconds for the wide receivers to make it to the end zone. Had we got to the quarterback at 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds, 9 seconds, there's a good chance we would have won the game. I'm with you 100%. They should rethink how they defend Hail Marys.
I don't agree with having 7 players, but like at least you have 5. I mean, you don't need 11 players in the back. But I mean,
there's something to be said about like defending Hail Marys, because I think even after the game, all the players recognized that they were not in the correct format of the back end of the end zone, where I think the guy that tipped it, I think
I saw Jalen Johnson was like blocking out. Right. Everyone else was like doing whatever.
The person that tipped it, the one that was having a conversation with the fans, he was actually supposed to be in the back. He wasn't supposed to be the tipper. So that just goes into what I was trying to say before of holding the players responsible for certain aspects of that. I agree 100% with everything Miller's saying. I think a lot of it is going to have to be one of the examples that they're going to use this game. They're going to use these last 2 plays to show the importance of defending when the team has 1 timeout left, making sure you don't give them opportunities, and then how to appropriately defend a Hail Mary, and also what not to do at the Hail Mary, which is go and talk to the fucking fans when the game's on the line. So,
well, I mean, it's not even that as much as it's the fact that he decided to play hero ball, right? Right. He decided, like 4 or 5 other players decided that we're going to give up doing what we're supposed to do, and we're going to try to tip the ball. And that wasn't his guy. He was supposed to be in the back, and he wanted to go and try to tip it and win the game or get the interception, and that led to the chaos.
I mean, like, Stevenson was just on a fucking high all game. He got a 15-yard penalty earlier in the game, too, I think, for, like, punching, like, a center or somebody, or, like, a lineman, too. Like, I don't know what, like, and he gave up 140 yards and a touchdown. Like, I get it, you've been, like, going against inferior players and doing well, but, like, he was on one, and, like, all game, he was just, like, out of sorts, just like causing trouble all game.
So obviously one of the big stories that this is being talked about around the league, the lack of discipline, the lack of execution on these plays and whatnot, and how the Bears lost. Where do we stand on Eberflus? Because I know me, for one, at the beginning of this season, obviously we have a rookie quarterback. So I was coming in saying, if we win 7 or 8 games, I think he's safe. I think we're going to win 7 or 8 games. I don't think he's safe.
I think you'll be here. I think like this was a bad game, but we're still 4-3.
But he's had so many of these bad
Dude,
games.
I'm not
But here's-
defending him. Like whenever we play a good team, it shows how poorly and Dan Quinn, I don't think he's the best coach out there. The fact that he outplayed us, he should be fired, but I don't think he will be. Is what I'm saying.
It's a 1-game thing. I don't know. I need to think about that because
It's literally every time we lose to a good team,
okay, but
we're
here's the-
talking about coaching.
right. But here's the
We're
thing.
not
How many-
talking about anything else. We're talking about coaching.
right. Okay, but of the 7 games this year, how many teams were good?
What? One? Houston?
Houston and then maybe at the time borderline.
And you can
Colts.
say Washington.
Washington, right? So like borderline Colts, maybe borderline. That's about it. And he's come out with 4 wins. I think he's on pace. If the defense continues to perform the way it's performing, I think you still give Flus 1 more year.
But here's some other stats because I love my stats. Eberflus, 15 games against winning teams. Do you want to guess what his record is?
2-13.
Wait, say it again.
Eberflus and the Bears have played 15 games against a winning team, so above 500. Do you want to guess what his record is?
I think he's only won 1 game.
2. He's 2-13. We have
What
played.
do I win? What do I win? You.
Yeah, you looked at the fucking agenda. He has played 20 games on the road. Do you know what his record is?
I think he's only won 3 games on the road.
3-17.
Yeah. But I mean, even I said it last week. The Bears haven't been a good away team.
No,
Chris
they haven't. Yeah, and these numbers are now to the forefront, and it's just like 4 games in a calendar year where we had a 90+% chance of winning it, and we lost it.
The one thing I will say about this is different from other scenarios in which we actually have a regime that drafted their quarterback, right? I think we're going to get into that same process of what's happened with Mitch, of what's happened with Fields, where the original regime that drafted him are never there at the end.
I know. Well, this is why we preached before that we should fire everybody.
Right. We should have done a full sweep.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. I think because of that, you have to keep Flus. And to an extent, you might have to keep the offensive coordinator for maybe half of next season.
I think next couple of games will be really important. Arizona this week, right? Like maybe average opponent, maybe like where we are, maybe slightly better, slightly worse, right? I think next couple of games will be like fucking like really important. Then we play New England, and then we are on to the division games. I feel like Miller, if he gets exposed in some of these games, I think he's gone. But I think like again, if we like fucking win a couple here, I think all will be forgotten.
I have a question for you both, and then I'm gonna look at the agenda because I know we're kind of stretching this a bit.
How many times are you just gonna forgive this guy for fucking coaching mistakes?
So this was gonna be my question to you guys. I believe without counting, because I think it's 6 points, without counting the Hail Mary, it was all field goals for Washington, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If this defense continues to produce the way that it produces, do you not force your hand and keep Flus forward?
I know. That's the only thing. Like, you have a top 5 defense under him, and like if you fire him, you're losing everybody, the staff. So it's like, what are you gonna fucking do?
Players play hard for him too. We gotta give him that.
Obviously, not one of them.
I was gonna say, really, Movin?
No. Like Stevenson has the hate he gets right now is deserved, but he has been solid in games before this.
All I can say is I'm getting a lot of Trestman era vibes right now. The players coming out talking against the coaches, questioning coaching decisions, talking to the coaches, which is, I mean, it's a good thing. It means you have good leaders being able to communicate with the coaches. But realistically, players shouldn't be telling coaches what to do. Coaches should be telling players what to do, and that is concerning to me.
I think there's an extent to that. I think there's an extent to allowing that to happen. I know you said Trestman. I'm looking at it more from the John Fox scenario, where even that was a little bit
Wow.
questionable.
Wow, guys, how often have you been hurt, or how many times have you been hurt?
We've been hurt a lot.
We've been hurt a lot.
You guys keep bringing ex-girlfriends that hurt you, so.
But here's the thing: of those coaches, every single one that we've had after Trestman, we've always had a QB change after like that process, and I
Okay.
think 2 GM changes. Do we really want to go through that right now? And also, we're 4-3 in a very tough division. If we win 8 now, knowing what we know now compared to what we knew before the season started, 8 is excellent for this team.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, boys, we gotta move on. Score prediction quickly. Miller and I picked the Bears to win, so we cannot get the win for imaginary rules Miller made up. So Chris, you get the victory. You were the closest last week. You said Washington win. We'll give it to you. Miller's 6-1 on the season in prediction. Chris and I are tied
Did
at
have
5-2.
caveat last week with
You don't get
whether
to talk,
Jaden
sir. You don't
plays,
get to
but
talk.
I'll accept it. I need an asterisk next to that 6-1 though.
Yes, you do get an asterisk there. But think about where you guys are. Positive rating, right? We did the mid-season bye-week review. Miller and I were like high at 7 and 7.5. Chris was getting closer to her at 6.5. Painful loss, right? Let's think about positivity rating for the team right now.
I want to hear from you guys because you guys were the highest. Obviously you guys know where I'm going, so you don't know my number, but you know where I'm going. I want to see where you guys are at.
I bumped it down 1.5. I'm at a 5.5. All's not lost,
Ooh.
right? We have 4-3 for the season. Outlook is still positive on the team. I think like definitely issues, glaring issues, but kind of I want to see how they react to this loss, and I want to be positive and leave him at a 5.5.
I'm gonna do 6. Still positive. At the end of the day, this year was about Caleb, and I see good things from him. He's performing when he needs to. He's getting the job done at times. He still has his struggles, which all rookies do.
Not all,
but overall, we like Boopin said, we're above 500. We're still in the playoff race, but very much issues.
Are we still in?
We're 4-3. Of course, we're in the playoff race.
Get too early. Chris, bring us down, buddy.
All right. So obviously, with my rant and kind of going full circle in that we are kind of all in the same boat of disappointment, but we're all going at different angles of who we're gonna send our tiki torches to. I hate to say this, I'm with Miller. I'm at a 6.
Did you go up? Oh no, you dropped 0.5.
Yeah, I dropped the 0.5.
Am I the lowest?
You
What
are
happened?
the lowest. The reason that I only decided to do a half is because that defense. Oh, very good. Did not take that long. That defense for 59 minutes and 50 whatever.
No, it was 60 minutes because that play went 10 seconds in.
Okay.
Thank you, Stat Hole Sports.
Well, with that being said, then I think if that catch doesn't happen, I think the defense would get a lot of the praise of this game. I think Caleb will get praise for the fourth quarter heroics. The team was still dog shit at the beginning, but like I've always said, that team has always seemed to be inconsistent when it comes to these kind of games.
And start slow, right?
We've all established that the start slow has to stop, but they haven't listened to us. But the only reason I'm saying
they will. DeAndre Swift will tell them, and then they'll.
DeAndre Swift needs to just demand the ball and be like,
no. He listens to the podcast. Remember, he listens to the podcast. He listens. He started performing when we started criticizing him. He'll tell the boys. We got him.
But the reason that I'm at a 6 is because, as much as I don't want to admit, and even though Caleb is the quarterback, he did really good in that fourth quarter to get us to where we were at. So that's the reason I only notched it to half, because if it wasn't for certain passes and if it wasn't for Keenan Allen, we would not have been where we were at. So
yeah, that's true. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have talked a lot, and we're going to run through Arizona real quick. Arizona, Kyler Murray as their quarterback. They have elite weapons with Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride at tight end, and James Conner at running back. Their offense is explosive, and they can definitely score. But are they really a first-place team? That is to be determined. Defense, don't know how they are. They're strong against the run as of right now. They've played some good opponents, and they've played them strong. but are they consistent? And that is something that we need to see. Obviously, Kyler was able to win this week despite the launch of COD. Let's see if he can push that out 2 weeks.
Maybe we ship him a copy, guys.
There you go. There you go. So the weaknesses, the defense, I still think is a little rough. But the key matchups to watch is the running quarterback. And will this offense, with its weapons, take the next step? They did lose one of their receivers this week, but they still have the rookie in Marvin Harrison, who is elite. And will our rushing defense be able to stop James Conner? Now, we did perform okay this week against Brian Robinson. We limited his rushing yards, which is a step forward, but Conner's a different beast. So let's see. What are your score predictions with the Bears going to Arizona this week?
I'll go first because I put it on the agenda.
Yep, and I'll go last because I won.
The over.
So the guy with the best record doesn't even get a say.
Nope.
He has to be stuck in the middle.
Yeah. Arizona is a point favorite at home. Over under is 44.5. I'll stay within that. I say Bears win 24-23.
That's 47.
Over, but within a point. 44.5. How do I fucking do that?
Just 245 there, bro.
45.
So
Said what I said.
we had the conversation about Eberflus, the road records, the playing against good teams.
No.
And although I have a 6, it's not because of Eberflus's coaching. And I think I am at a point where I'm no longer going to trust him against good teams. And even more so if you're playing good teams on the road. I think the Bears lose 24-23.
That's the exact same score. That's the exact same fucking score.
No,
I know. I couldn't think of anything.
But Miller, you call Arizona a good team.
That's what I was about to ask. Like, we're really putting
4-4.
They're 4-4 in a division that San Francisco.
Do we want to discuss the teams that we've beat and their combined win percentage?
Brought this up every time we talked about this in the group chat. Hold on, let me finish. He was like, "Oh, well, this team lost to, this team also lost to the Colts. This team also." That's irrelevant at this point. No one gives a shit. Like,
I'm just saying. At this
Arizona
point,
beat San Francisco.
I get
they beat San Francisco. They beat the Rams.
And
they beat Miami.
And Buccaneers?
No, I don't know. But all I'm saying is, are they a good team? I don't think they're going to win the West, but they're a higher caliber than we've beaten this year.
All right. I am going to go 2 different routes. I'm either going to go the route that the Bears team needs to annihilate the Cardinals because they need to not have the narrative of what happened with Washington.
Okay, that I know is not happening.
Or we're going to continue the trend of being dog shit on the road, which is what I've been.
I don't think that's going to happen either.
Anyways, given how fresh this scenario is, I think the Bears get their first road win. And I think the Bears fucking annihilate.
Okay, Ben. Jesus.
We're going to go 31-14 Bears.
Wow.
And the only reason I'm being this confident is because the players talk that they needed to do better. The coaches talk that they needed to be better. People will be held accountable. This is the game that we have to say, hey, last week was a fluke. It will never happen again, and we're going to prove it. It's another 3:00 game, which I can't stand, but still, I can't stand a 3:00.
I hate 3:00 games. I agree with you. They need to do this. They need to get this win very badly.
If there's
but this isn't the Carolina Panthers. Listen, this isn't what happened against Indianapolis. We are not going against a layup. We are going against a real football team. And I don't know that this coaching staff can do enough to get a W.
The Bears have still not allowed the most. I think the Bears are first in points allowed in the conference or in the division. I honestly believe that this is the game that if there's an attempt of a second quarter Hail Mary to end the half,
Oh, that would be
it's going
hilarious.
to be an engage 8. Anyone that plays Madden football, it's going
I
to be an
love
engage
that.
8 pushing through, and that will never happen again. I want that to happen. That if I get that to happen and the Bears win, I deserve 2 points. But I think this is the game where we need to show them that we have our bear claw at their throat, and we're not just going to let go. We're squeezing. We're scratching. We're doing everything possible to win this game, and we're going to annihilate, and the defense is going to show up. The defense is going to go out there and say, we are not a fluke. We're not possibly going to let them score. 14 is the most I can give them. I was going to say 10, but that would have been a bit much. I am sticking with 31-14 Bears.
All right. No, I hope you're right, Chris. I will be rooting for you 100%. Okay. That was the Bears recap. That was the Bears matchup for next week. Let's bring it back home. Let's talk about the troubles at home. Your own fantasy team, like my own fantasy team.
Yeah, speak for yourself, brother. I'm doing great now.
I think I'm 500, maybe better than 501. I'm like right around what I am sucking. So, fantasy guru, sir, what do you have for us today? How do we make
Well,
our
first
teams
of all,
better?
we have to give shout out to the tight ends out there. After all, it was tight end appreciation day on Sunday, and they performed. For the first time all season, they got double-digit touchdowns for the position, and they scored 16 TDs across the league. So they definitely came up to play. So shout out to all your tight ends. If you did not score a touchdown as a tight end and he's on your fantasy team, you should probably drop him. Okay, so moving on, we had a bunch of injuries this week. Jordan Love is a big one with Green Bay. Monitor that situation if he comes back. Drake May is likely out this week with a concussion. Stephon Diggs is out for the season, as mentioned earlier, and all Jaguar wide receivers are out as of right now. Brian Thomas is questionable. So issues there across the landscape. There's a few other injuries that I'm not going to get into right now. But let's take a look at some situations here and how we want to perform or how do we want to think about them. First off, let's dive into the quarterback situation. And one particularly that wasn't covered last week is a quarterback named CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is a guy that if you look at the metrics, performs very well at home and not well on the road. And tomorrow or Thursday, he is going to New York to play the Jets. On top of that, he has lost 2 receivers to injury. Ari, what are you doing with CJ Stroud?
Drafted what, top 5 too, right? Like he
was top 7. I don't think top 5.
Anyway, he was like one of the few quarterbacks people were eyeing for. Had a crazy rookie year, and they just thought, hey, we got Diggs, and he's just gonna get better. But Nico's hurt, Diggs is out. I think it's a real concern. I don't think he's startable right now. I know Jets have been somewhat soft in the last couple of games, but I don't know, especially with Mixon, how awesome has been this year. I like it's kind of like Lamar's performing, but like Baltimore seems to like to run the ball. I think the same situation. I don't know if you can consistently rely on him. I'm not confident starting him every game. Maybe play him in some matchups that's favorable for him, but I would definitely not say all-time starter for him.
Like I said, you got to play him at home, possibly, depending on the matchup. But Mixon is taking a huge role on this team, and they're turning into a running team especially without Nico and Stephon. So I think it's like you said, it's a matchup based, but you cannot play him outdoors on the road. You need to make sure he's at home if you decide to play him at this point.
We got to do a segment on this aging running back class. Connor, Mixon, just like freaking running. Like Henry, like God, like this is unheard of, I think, in fantasy. They're like, after 28, don't have like fucking running backs. Like, just like,
I don't think Connor's that old.
Is he not that old? Didn't he have cancer and shit? Like, goddamn. It feels like he was on the Steelers like ages ago at this point. But
it does, doesn't it? Oh, he is 29.
Talking about running backs, I got a question for you guys. Tyrone Tracy, my waiver diamond that I picked up. Is he I think played like 70% of the snaps over Singletary this the past week. Is he a buy? Is he a hold? Anybody?
Does he have a concussion?
Probably.
Because he went to concussion protocol. But I mean, he's the future, right? He's the future of the Giants. I mean, Singletary's not going to be there long term. He looks really good when he plays. He runs hard. He looks like almost like an Isaiah Pacheco type. So that's props. So I mean, he's definitely, you want him on your team if he's available on the waivers, which I doubt he is at this point. But there is a timeshare there with Devin Singletary. It might, but as we saw this last game, it seems like he dominates snaps. So definitely someone to keep in mind.
Rico Dowdle didn't play this week. Zeke and Dalvin Cook, people. What year is this where the Cowboys running back? Any of them worth a stash?
Probably not.
Why not?
I don't know, man. I might be forced to in a league, but
But see, that goes back to what we were talking about last week too, where like how do you utilize your flex compared to like your 1 and 2? I think if you have to make maneuvers, like I think I brought up Mooney and David Montgomery and trying to figure out like which one would fit where.
Mooney might be like
Mooney might just be the permanent flex at this point.
Yeah, like
he could be like,
yeah, forget flex. He started with a wide receiver.
He is probably one of the biggest like surprises of the season, to be honest.
Like Kirk Cousins looks to him probably more than Drake London.
There was a play where he was running across, and you can clearly tell Cousins is like not looking anywhere else.
Yep.
And he's just straight like, where's Mooney? Which
London is like the 8 yards, 10 yards guy to get the first down, and then like Mooney's the big play guy. Somehow
it's Mooney and Pitts, and man, it would sure have been nice to have a quarterback that could throw him the ball last year.
Okay,
moving on.
All right. Okay, this is complicated.
The running back situation for the Niners, Jordan Mason went out, cost me one victory this week because he only put up 1.8. I lost by 1.4. But what do we do with Jordan Mason? Are we keeping him right now, or are we dropping him? Because rumor has it is CMC's coming back week 10.
Yeah, McCaffrey at no setback is rumored to be like playing week 10. But
limited? Is it projected to be limited carries or full?
They don't know. It's too
he's on a bye, so we don't know shit. This is all this is all what they're.
It's all speculation. I don't know. I have him in a league. He's gonna stay on my team. I don't think I'm gonna play him, but that's just because I have good running backs.
You don't drop him. I don't think so. Maybe I don't know. I don't think anyone's trading.
Because keep in mind, before week one, the Niners came out and said CMC was playing as well. And we are now at week 8 and we haven't seen him on the field. So just because they say he's expected to play doesn't mean he will. You can't drop him yet, but he's definitely a guy that is leaning towards droppable, do not play unless you really have to.
Like the other thing is the record, right? 49ers at 4-4.
Yeah, that sounds right. Well, if Arizona's leading the division at 4-4, I think they're 4-4 too.
So, yeah, I think Arizona's leading because they beat them. But if this trend continues, there's other injuries too, right? Like, if they lose a couple more games, maybe and he's not doing so hot. He's probably like, these issues, like he had double high sprained knee or something crazy. So, like, if they, McCaffrey.
Achilles.
So, like, if they're doing poorly, do you think they shut it down for the year too?
They're not going to do poorly. That division is too wide open.
Yeah, it's too wide open.
I mean, Arizona really isn't that strong. Seattle isn't that strong. I mean, CMC is a different monster than everybody else. The Niners have their issues with Ayuk. They'll get it together. They still have probably one of the best coaches in the league there. CMC is had a few drinks of whiskey, ladies and gentlemen. CMC is going to be ridden. He's going to be ridden hard when he comes back into the league.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
Lord.
No. All right. That's the cover of fantasy. Good luck to you. We're at the stage of the game where hopefully you're in it. You're making moves. I am particularly doing fairly well. And rock on, baby.
I will tell you guys, I won 4 in a row.
Oh shit!
I almost had top scorer, top player last week with Hertz. But then
Hertz has
fucking
showed up.
Hertz has showed up, thankfully. But then
You're
fucking
surely.
Lamb decided to go nuts and take over top scorer of the week. I'm not making any moves. I know I talked about the Tampa Bay running back situation. I think I'm only going to use them once, and that's going to be when all of my fucking running backs are on bye the same week, and that's really when I'm going to bring them up. So I know I'm
Yeah.
going to lose that week, but that's about it.
I mean, making moves. We talked about. We did one between the two people on the show. Miller needed a tight end. He had a Denver defense. I traded for a tight end that I didn't need, so I gave him my backup tight end, and I got a really nice defense. So that's what you need, right? Look at what your team's projected to be. If there's some weaknesses in your team that you want to upgrade, that's how you upgrade.
I think my tight end is still my weakness. I think Kincaid, even though he scored a touchdown, he only caught like 3 balls. So I think that's gonna be.
But be happy he had 7 targets.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's.
Look at targets. Don't worry about receptions. Look at targets, making sure he's in the offense. And Amari hasn't shown up yet, which is kind of surprising. But
He had 2 touchdowns last week.
No, he didn't.
Amari didn't have 2 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure he did.
He had a touchdown, I think.
A touchdown.
I think he had like 20 yards and a touchdown.
All right, it's that time. We're gonna be wrapping up. Boopin, let's see that glass, buddy.
Ooh, I didn't do so hot.
You made it halfway. You're not a champ like this guy.
So we're gonna wrap it home. I'm debating if I want to have Miller take us home again because that was fun last week. So yeah, you know what, Miller, take us home, buddy.
Thank you for listening. We hope you hit that like button and subscribe to our podcast. We are a young podcast, so any and all feedback is appreciated. Maybe someday in the near future, we can have some positivity up in this city. But until then, we have to listen to dumb number 1 and dumb number 2 to my right give horrible takes week after week. But that's okay because we will still love them. On that positive note, this is us saying goodbye.
Whoa! That was awesome.
Imagine if you did that sober.
I know, best outro ever. Good night.
All right, and we're gonna stay live just for a little bit on YouTube. Shout out.
It only works if I'm surprised.
Yeah, that you were kind of expecting it.
I was not expecting it, but I had once you mentioned it, I had the agenda up immediately.
Ready. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're gonna try to figure out why our shit's not going to Spotify. That's a tomorrow issue. I need to get these young, handsome dads back to getting some sleep because they are not feeling well. So thank you guys for putting up with that. So we're gonna go ahead and end the stream there. Thank you guys so much. Look at the baby. Look at the baby. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys. We will talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Ben.
Boys, good job. We actually had max viewers of 4 today.